A brand new factory in Vietnam sits half empty, its assembly lines idle. Just 3,000 miles west, Shenzhen hums with activity. The difference isn't wages, it's what surrounds each building. China's real advantage isn't cheap labor anymore. Wages there have tripled since 2010. The advantage is proximity. Every screw, every chip, every specialized tool lives within a 2-hour drive. When Apple needs a last-minute design change, Shenzhen's suppliers retool overnight. Try that from Mexico or India, and you're waiting weeks for parts to arrive, then weeks more to ship the finished product back. This is the distance tax. Every mile between factory and supplier adds cost, time, and risk. And it's why moving production isn't as simple as finding cheaper workers. So how did China build this fortress? It started in 1980, when Deng Xiaoping opened 4 special economic zones along the coast, Shenzhen, Zhuhai, Shantou, Xiamen, offering tax breaks and looser rules to foreign investors. Foreign companies rushed in, not for cheap labor alone, but because China poured billions into ports, highways, and power grids. By 2001, when China joined the WTO, it had infrastructure most developing countries wouldn't match for decades. Then suppliers clustered. A factory making phone screens would attract a glass supplier next door, then a coating specialist, then a packaging plant. Within a decade, entire ecosystems formed, hundreds of specialists within a 2-hour truck ride. And workers lived on site. Foxconn's Shenzhen campus housed 300,000 employees in dormitories, canteens, clinics, everything. You could scale production overnight because labor didn't commute. It was already there, trained, ready. By 2010, China manufactured 28% of global goods, more than the US, Germany, and Japan combined. It wasn't one advantage, it was infrastructure, suppliers, and labor, all locked together in a system no one else had built. So let's crack one open. Take a smartphone. 750 parts, 30 countries, but final assembly happens in one building. Here's why that building has to be in China. The screen comes from a supplier 2 kilometers north. The camera module, 15 minutes by truck. Tiny screws, adhesive tape, the logic board, every piece arrives within a 2-hour radius, often same day. That proximity isn't luck. It's 30 years of clustering. When Apple needs a design tweak mid-production, engineers walk to the tooling shop across the street. New samples by morning. Try that from Vietnam. The assembly line runs 24 hours. Components arrive in 4-hour windows. No warehouse, no buffer stock. One supplier misses delivery, the whole line stops. That's just-in-time manufacturing at scale. Now picture moving that. You don't relocate one factory. You relocate an entire industrial neighborhood. The screen maker, the camera supplier, the packaging plant, the quality testing lab. All of them, or none of it works. And here's the kicker. Even when companies build new plants elsewhere, they keep a China line running. Because when launch day hits and you need 10 million units fast, only one place has the muscle. But the factories are only half the story. Beneath them runs the invisible machine, the ports, the rail lines, the customs halls that move 1 million containers a day without anyone noticing. The Golden Triangle, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Hong Kong, handles more cargo in a week than most countries move in a year. Customs clearance that takes 3 days in Mumbai happens in 3 hours here. And speed compounds, a supplier 2 hours away delivers same day. Move that supplier to Vietnam. 4 days by sea. India, 7. Every added day multiplies inventory cost, ties up capital, kills flexibility. This is the distance tax in full. Not wages, not tariffs. The cost of being far from the machine. The ports, the trucks, the suppliers who can pivot overnight. Geography as a monthly invoice. So companies tried. In 2019, Samsung opened a massive display plant in northern Vietnam. $2.5 billion state-of-the-art equipment, lower wages. Within 18 months, yield rates were still 30% below their Chinese lines. The equipment was identical. The problem was people. Training a technician to spot a micro defect in a glass substrate takes 3 years of daily repetition. China had 50,000 of them. Vietnam was starting from zero. Then there's iteration. A new factory runs at maybe 60% efficiency in year 1. Chinese plants hit 95% because they've debugged every bottleneck over a decade. That gap is pure cost, wasted material, missed deadlines, rework. And quality control loops back to suppliers. A defective component? In China, the supplier's engineer is in your building by afternoon. From India or Mexico, you're emailing photos, waiting days, hoping the fix works. Every delay costs money. But here's the twist no one saw coming. While headlines scream about factories fleeing China, something bigger is happening underneath. China isn't losing manufacturing. It's shedding the low-margin work and keeping what pays. Electric vehicles. China now builds 60% of the world's EVs. Not assembling foreign designs, but engineering its own platforms. BYD, NIO, Xpeng. These aren't contract manufacturers. They're brands designing powertrains, software, batteries in-house. Battery production, even more lopsided. 75% of lithium-ion cells come from Chinese factories. CATL alone supplies Tesla, BMW, Volkswagen. The entire industry runs on Chinese battery chemistry and manufacturing know-how that took 15 years to build. Solar panels, same pattern. China controls 80% of polysilicon production, the raw material for every panel. It's not cheap labor. It's integrated supply chains, from silicon to finished module, all within one logistics network. So the narrative flips. Low-cost assembly. The T-shirts, the toys, the basic electronics. That's moving to Vietnam and Bangladesh. But the complex, high-margin stuff? Batteries, EVs, solar, advanced manufacturing equipment, China's tightening its grip there. So which factories actually move? Not the ones you'd expect. The pattern is brutally simple. If a product needs 30 workers and 2 suppliers, it can relocate. If it needs 300 engineers and 200 suppliers, it's stuck. Textiles moved first. Sewing a T-shirt requires fabric, thread, a pattern, and hands. Vietnam now produces more garments than China did in 2010 because the supply chain fits in 3 buildings and training takes weeks, not years. Toys followed. Injection molding, assembly, packaging. All low-precision work with short learning curves. A Mexican factory can tool up for action figures in 6 months because the molds ship complete, and the process tolerates variance that electronics never could. But smartphones stay. That supply chain walkthrough from earlier, you can't break off 3 links and expect the chain to work. Moving final assembly to India doesn't help when every camera module still ships from Guangdong, adding 2 weeks and killing just-in-time delivery. This is what China+1 actually means. Not replacement, but hedging. Companies add a second site for political risk, keep China for volume and speed, and accept that diversification costs money. The ecosystem doesn't duplicate, it splits. So the factories do move, but they land where geography and politics align. Mexico assembles cars for Detroit because a truck crosses the border in 8 hours, not 8 days. Vietnam took the apparel work because garment production needs hands, not ecosystems. A sewing line requires fabric, thread, and people. All three ship easily. No rare suppliers, no iteration loops. India won pharmaceutical contracts not from cost, but alignment. Western governments wanted drug supply outside Beijing's reach. The trade-off? Indian factories cost 30% more to run and took 4 years to match Chinese quality certifications. Friendshoring buys resilience, not savings. Shorter routes, trusted partners, diversified risk. But every mile closer to home adds cost that eventually lands in the price tag you see at checkout. But some industries can't move, ever. Semiconductors. Taiwan's Hsinchu Science Park holds the entire chip ecosystem in one valley. TSMC's fabs, equipment suppliers, chemical vendors, packaging plants, all within 15 minutes. Rare earth processing. China refines 90% of the minerals that power every motor, battery, and magnet. Not mining, refining. The chemical expertise and environmental tolerance took 30 years to build. No one else wants the toxic waste. And anything with deep supplier networks stays put. Machine tools, industrial robots, precision optics, these need 50 specialized subcontractors within driving range. The distance tax isn't a premium you can pay. It's a wall you can't scale, which means every relocated factory adds a premium. Estimates put the cost increase at 15 to 30%. Duplicate tooling, longer shipping, higher wages, slower iteration. That margin doesn't vanish. It moves straight to the price tag. Lead times stretch too. A Chinese supplier ships revised parts overnight. A Vietnamese supplier needs a week. An Indian supplier, 2. Every day of delay multiplies inventory cost and slows product launches. Another hidden tax on distance. So the distance tax isn't abstract. It's the reason your phone costs $50 more this year, why car delivery stretches 6 months, why that appliance you wanted sits perpetually out of stock. Resilience has a price, and you're paying it. Distance isn't geography. It's money, time, and the invisible web of suppliers that makes complex products possible. China built that web over 30 years. Moving it means rebuilding it, and paying for every missing link along the way. The choice isn't between cheap and expensive, it's between fast and resilient, concentrated and diversified. Understanding that trade-off is how you see past the headlines and into the forces reshaping what you buy. If this reframed how you think about global trade, there's more where this came from.